Thank you for taking time to watch our information session on Career and College Promise at Davidson-Davie Community College. My name is Anissa Wall, and I get to serve as the Director of High School Partnerships here. And I'm excited just to give you a really brief overview of Career and College Promise and how it looks here at Davidson-Davie. Career and College Promise is a dual enrollment program that is offered to high school students across all of North Carolina. And it allows students to get an early start on their college coursework, whether that be towards a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. And it's all while you're still enrolled in your high school. So that term dual enrolled, which is probably a more familiar term for you, but dual enrolled means that you're enrolled at your current high school. So whether that be a public school, a private school, or homeschool, you are still enrolled there, but then you're also enrolled with community college. Specifically with us, it would be Davidson-Davie Community College, and the courses that you take with us would count on both your high school transcript and your college transcript. There are several benefits to Career and College Promise, or what I will probably refer to as just a CCP. One of the biggest benefits, and probably what gets families the most excited, is that tuition and fees are free. So regardless of how many courses you take while in high school, everything is free when it comes to your tuition and fees. Students are responsible for textbooks, and we definitely want families to be aware of that on the front end. But I will tell you, we do try to help you find the best deal possible when it comes to textbooks. Some classes have moved to an online resource, so textbooks are not even required as far as purchasing. So we try to help you navigate through those expenses. But as far as your tuition and fees, as long as you're a high school student, you are not required to pay any of that out of pocket. It also allows you to get a sneak peek into a career or field of study. So for a student who plans to pursue a more technical career, a good example may be an engineer. If you plan to go to college to be an engineer, Davidson-Davie has an engineering program here. It's a 2-year program, but it is available to high school students to explore through a CCP pathway. So if you want to be an engineer, you have an opportunity to take an engineering class. And it allows you to see what engineering really is like. Sometimes students are really passionate about a specific career opportunity. And so by taking a course, it just increases that passion and really helps you kind of decide, yes, this is really what I want to do. But there are sometimes a student may feel pretty strongly about a career, but then once they take the class, they realize it's not quite what they thought it would be. And so they may change their mind. Either way, however it tends to go for you, either way you're benefiting because you're helping make those decisions before you graduate high school and go off to college. And you're doing it without having to pay any tuition and fees, so you're not wasting any kind of money. You also have the opportunity to ease into college level work. And so if you take 1 or 2 classes to get started, that's a much lighter load than what you would take when you go off to college and in your freshman year. And so that ease into that level of work helps you learn what it takes to be successful. High school is very different than college, and we try to share that with students on the front end. And when I say it's different, high school certainly provides rigorous options, and they prepare you for college. But when you become a college student, we integrate you into a regular college class. So it's not specific to high school students. So college faculty will be teaching your course. Your classmates are going to be regular college students, and you're going to be treated as a regular college student. So held to the same policies and procedures. Same responsibility is going to be placed on you. And so learning to navigate through those things can be a bit of a transition for a high school student. And so you have an opportunity to get acclimated to that environment, learn what it takes to be successful, and that's only going to help you on the back end of it when you get ready to go away to college. We have seen data come out from across the state and really across the country that says if a student participates in a dual enrollment program, they're often more successful in their college courses after high school because they have learned what it takes to be successful in college. So definitely a huge benefit. I think saving money is a great benefit, but from my perspective, I would lean in and say that, learning how to be a college student is just as beneficial. On the high school side, as I said, you are dual enrolled, and so everything you take with community college counts on the high school side, and so you're earning credit both places. When we build your schedule, we do that in partnership with your high school. And so for a public school student, they typically will choose 8 classes during registration that they will plan to take for the next school year. And so Career and College Promise becomes part of that 8. So it's not anything that you have to take in addition. When you choose your 8 classes, you could choose maybe 6 classes at your high school and 2 with community college. Maybe you want to take 4 and 4, or you may just want to take 1 college class, and that's totally acceptable. The great thing about Career and College Promise is that it's very flexible, and we really kind of meet you where you are and help you pursue whatever goals you have. So if that's 1 class, or if it's a full associate's degree, we're going to build your schedule to meet whatever needs that you have as an individual student. In addition, the classes that you take that are transferable to a university, they are weighted the exact same as an AP course in your high school. So if you're taking AP level courses, that does yield additional weighting on your GPA, and our courses would be treated the exact same. There are 2 different pathway opportunities. The first one is college transfer pathways, and this is probably our most popular option for students, and that's because a lot of our students plan to go to a 4-year college at some point. And so the college transfer pathways, there's a few different ones. We obviously would pick the pathway that most meets your long-term goals when you go off to college, but within those are courses that you would take your first 2 years as a freshman and sophomore at a university. So it's things like English, math, psychology, maybe a history, an art, or music, just general courses. And sometimes students will say, why do I have to take these courses? They have nothing to do with my major. And regardless of where you go to school, regardless of what your major is, the first 2 years, you're going to take general classes. And so while you're a part of CCP, you can go ahead and get an early start on those. You're going to take 1 class, or the classes that you choose to take with us are going to give you a kind of a double benefit, right? You're getting high school credit for them, but you're also getting college credit, only having to take the class 1 time. When you finish high school and you get ready to transfer out to your university, then you would just get a transcript from Davidson-Davie Community College, have that sent to your university, and they're going to give you credit for those classes there. The benefit of that is it's less you have to take there. Hopefully it gets you ahead. If you plan to go on and do a master's degree or even a doctorate degree, you've shaved off some time, and it also could lighten your load, right? You would normally go in and take 5 classes in a semester, and maybe now you only have to take 4. So there's a big benefit of getting some of these done while you're a high school student. There's an agreement amongst all of the state-supported universities in North Carolina, as well as a lot of our privates, that says if you can make a C or better within your community college courses, that they do guarantee you credit when you get to their university. So as long as you do well, you're going to do fine when you transfer. It's going to give you credit there. And then again, these are the courses that would yield you the AP weight on your high school transcript. Career and Technical Education, or CTE, might be a more common term that you use within your high school, but these are our hands-on programs. And so students who choose a CTE option, there's about 30 different pathways that you can choose from, and those are things like automotive, diesel and heavy equipment, nurse aid, cosmetology, aesthetics, pharmacy, lots of options that you can choose from. And so these pathways yield you a certificate when you complete. So if you complete your pathway, you'll earn a certificate. Hopefully that will help you with an entry-level job. You also have the option to continue taking courses in that specific area and work towards your associate's degree. So if you plan to do nursing, or if you plan to do automotive, or you plan to do welding, you can continue taking courses that are going to benefit you when you graduate high school and work to pursue those 2-year degrees. This is also where I talked about getting that opportunity to have a sneak peek. These are the programs where you would have that option. There are some eligibility requirements that go along with each of these pathways. So for the college transfer, juniors and seniors, as long as you have a 2.8 unweighted GPA or higher, then you're eligible for the program. There's nothing else that you really have to worry about other than just the paperwork and logistics of getting enrolled. But as far as criteria, that's it. If you recall people in the past, maybe friends, siblings, others that you know of who've taken these classes in years past, at one time there was a placement test required, and that sometimes prevented people from the opportunity. But within the last couple of years, the state has removed that requirement, and now we only look at your GPA. And so this has opened up the door for many more students to participate in CCP, and we're really excited about that being available. If you don't have the GPA, that's okay. You do have the option to provide college readiness scores on an approved assessment. So an approved assessment would be a pre-ACT, a PSAT, or an ACT or SAT. We also have a placement test that you can take here at the college, and we can proctor that for you. And if you meet the benchmarks, then you obviously can enroll just by submitting those scores. So where this used to be an and, you had to have a certain GPA and scores, now we would just look at one or the other. For freshmen and sophomores who want to pursue the college transfer pathways, you can see that the criteria is a little bit more in depth than what it would be for a junior or senior. And that's simply just because they do transfer to a university, so they're pretty rigorous. And we want to make sure that students are prepared. This is actually a new option. This just became available for freshmen and sophomores in the summer of 2020. We do have students across our county who are doing this, and they are very successful. So if it's something you're interested in, certainly I would pursue it. We would help you kind of navigate through that process. The first step is to be identified as gifted. So if you're a public school student, we would look at your AIG plan. You would need to be AIG in English, reading, and math, so all three areas. If you are not a public school student and you're in a private school or a homeschool, there are approved aptitude and achievement tests that you can take, and we've already had some students to pursue this and submit scores, so we can certainly give you a list of tests that have already been taken and students have provided just to help you narrow down some if you wish to pursue this. So first, we identified as gifted, and then the second step is to provide readiness scores. So the same test scores that I mentioned before, you would need to provide one of those in order to be eligible. Outside of that, it's really just some signatures. Your principal would sign, the AIG coordinator would sign if that's applicable to you, our vice president of student affairs would sign, and then your parent or guardian as well. And then the last piece is just that you would participate in academic advising. So we would want to talk to you about what college is like, what the expectations are, and make sure that you feel like you're prepared and ready. Career and technical education eligibility looks very similar. So again, if you have the 2.8 unweighted GPA, that's kind of your ticket in for everything. You can also submit test scores, but you'll notice there's an extra or in there. And students who are juniors and seniors and wish to pursue a CTE pathway, your principal has the option to write a recommendation. And an example of when this might be done, a student may be really passionate about something like welding, and they want to pursue that as their career, but maybe math and English are just not their strong suit. And that's completely okay. The principal can write a recommendation to say, this is the career the student wants to pursue. I want to recommend them. I think they'll be very successful. Please enroll them in this program. And if they do that, then we can accept that as your eligibility, and you don't have to worry about your GPA or test scores. For freshmen and sophomores, you see that there's three options here. Generally, there are only two, but the temporary option is in place due to COVID. In 2020, a lot of the end of grade testing and things were not able to be completed. And so there is the temporary option for those students that this impacted. But typically option 1 is what a public school student would use to come in, although you could choose option 1 or 2. We have found that the option 1 tends to be easier for a public school student. So we would look at Math 1 and English and your EOC scores. Option 2 would be what a private or homeschool student would utilize. And basically that's just a recommendation as well as college readiness scores. And we would use just those same scores that I've already mentioned. So again, we have students across the county who are enrolled in CTE pathways as a freshman and sophomores, and they all are doing very, very well. Once enrolled in the program, we have a scholarship that is designed for CCP students, and this is specific to Davidson-Davie. It's not anything that's available within other colleges. Of course, they may have something similar, but the Davidson-Davie Advantage Scholarship has been around for just a few years, and it's designed to give you an additional year of free tuition after you graduate high school. Currently, there is no limit as to how many students receive this scholarship, and I'm hopeful that that's able to continue. So how it works is you would need to complete at least 12 credit hours while you're a high school student. So 12 credit hours equates to about 4 classes. So if you did 4 classes as a high school student and you maintained a GPA of 2.0 or higher, which is basically just a C average, and you maintained a 2.6 or higher unweighted GPA at your high school, then you would meet the eligibility criteria. So when you get ready to enroll at Davidson-Davie in the fall after you've graduated high school, then Advantage guarantees you an additional year of free tuition. You would need to enroll full-time, and that's that last bullet there, that you would need to be in at least 12 credit hours in the fall and spring. But this gives you additional tuition support. So a student who starts with us in junior year, they can have free tuition for junior year, senior year, and then utilize this scholarship after high school and essentially get a whole associate's degree without ever paying a dime of tuition and fees. This is just an incredible opportunity. Even if you don't plan to go to community college, this is just something to consider as a way for you to transfer out. So if you're able to get a whole year done in high school, maybe consider staying with Davidson-Davie just to finish up your associate transfer degree and then go on to your 4-year college. We would look at a FAFSA. So a FAFSA is required. However, you'll notice in that first bullet, it says it's regardless of family income. And so the way that it works, if you receive any type of other aid, whether that be from a Pell Grant or other scholarship, then that obviously would cover your tuition and this scholarship would not be needed. However, a lot of students, your family income is on that line and you don't receive any kind of tuition assistance. And if that's the case, Advantage would kick in to pay for your tuition and fees. So what I generally tell students is regardless of what pot of money it comes from, if you meet this criteria, then you are guaranteed an additional year of free tuition after you graduate. Okay, so just something to think ahead about. Great way to get ahead. If you plan to go get your master's degree, you could make sure that you get 2 years of that free and then go off and spend, 4 years at college and pay in tuition. If you plan to go get a doctorate, all those things are things to think about and ways to save money. And that just limits what you have to take out in loans. Just a great opportunity for students in this program. If you're interested, the first steps, if you're a public school student, would be to talk to your career development coordinator at your high school. So your CDC is generally housed with guidance or your counselors. And what they're going to do is verify eligibility. So they're going to look at your transcript, see what your GPA is, and if you meet that benchmark, then they're going to look at your high school graduation requirements. We obviously want you to graduate high school. That's the first priority. So they're going to look and make sure you've got all your requirements met or that you're on track to graduate. And then they're going to look at your schedule to see, is there any openings within the student schedule where we can put some CCP courses in? Right now is a great time because registration is happening. And so In the midst of registration, this is a perfect opportunity for you to talk about adding Career and College Promise courses to your schedule. Once they have those conversations with you and look at your schedule, the next step will be for you to complete an online application, and that's done directly through CFNC. And we have a little cheat sheet that you can utilize to help you know exactly what to select once you get in the application. Your CDC has a copy of that they can provide to you. Once you submit it, it comes to us here at the college, and we process it and we work with your school to get you registered. Over the summer, once you're registered, over the summer, we will offer a new student orientation that is required for all brand new students. And that's where we talk about really how to get started at the college. So how to access your accounts, what resources are available to you, things that you should keep in mind as you get started in your first course or courses. So we help you get started and we don't leave you out on your own. We definitely provide extra support so that you'll be successful in your first semester. If you're a private or homeschool student, we have an advisor here on our campus. Her name is Victoria Hundley, and her contact information is listed there. Victoria is wonderful to work with, and she meets with all of our private and homeschool families and can help you look at what graduation requirements are still necessary, how we can help satisfy some of those requirements. And so I would recommend contacting her. Just like with a public school student, there is an application process that they will need to go through. Victoria can provide the steps for that. And then we'll also need a copy of your homeschool registration form, a copy of the high school transcript, and then we will have a form that we fill out that lists the courses that your student is interested in taking. So just a little bit of a different process, but certainly start with Victoria and she will be a huge, huge help. For information, you can go to our website. It's just the davidson-davie.edu /promise. There's more information there. Our pathways are listed there if you want more specific details about what pathways are available. You can also email our staff at ccp@davidson.ccc.edu. That comes to our office and we can help answer any questions that you may have. But we hope that this information is helpful. We look forward to working with you and your family in the near future.